These are our top stories. Less than 24 hours from now, South and North Korea will hold their first summit meeting in 11 years. The two sides will take up the denuclearization of the peninsula and work for a permanent peace, possibly even a peace treaty. We now have the official schedule for the summit. A South Korean honor guard will meet President Moon and Kim Jong-un at the military demarcation line. The two leaders will sign an agreement, followed by an official dinner full of symbolic meaning. And we'll take a close look at exactly who South and North Korea are sending to the summit along with their leaders. From Pyongyang, it'll be some familiar faces who came south for the Olympics earlier this year, including Kim Jong-un's own sister. The whole world is talking about it, and now it's just a day away. For the first time in 11 years on Friday, the leaders of the two Koreas will hold a bilateral summit. We now connect live to our very own Hwang Ho-jun, who's part of the Panmunjom press pool and is at the main press center in Goyang, just north of Seoul. Ho-jun, with all the attention this summit is getting, the press center must be absolutely packed by now.
Devin, you're absolutely right. Thousands of reporters and media personnel from Korea and abroad are here at the main press center anxiously preparing for the historic meeting between South Korean President Moon Jae-in and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. As you said, this is the first summit meeting in 11 years. It's the third overall. The first two took place in 2000 and 2007. Around this time last year, people were talking about Korea being on the brink of war, but now, in drastic contrast, more hopeful thoughts are emerging of reconciliation. So, considering the rocky path the two Koreas have gone through, it's easy to understand the hype here at the press center. As of Tuesday, 2,850 reporters had registered to cover Friday's event. And the press center has also made on-site registration available, so we can safely assume the total number of reporters will reach 3,000.
Yeah, well, the excitement over there is apparent even watching here from the studio. We know from your reporting that the South Korean presidential office has been doing everything it can to make sure that the summit tomorrow goes off without a hitch.
That's absolutely right. As a matter of fact, the Summit Preparatory Committee carried out its last and final run-through today. It was a final checkup with implementing necessary changes the committee found during Tuesday's rehearsal, in which they inspected every detail from the paths people will take, all the way down to the furniture inside the building. Less than half an hour ago, the Blue House spokesperson confirmed the final rehearsal went smoothly and that South Korea is ready to host the North Korean leader tomorrow. According to the spokesperson, 6 out of the 7 officials who will accompany President Moon tomorrow attended the final rehearsal and ran through the entire program and inspected even the smallest detail. And this time, there were 2 body doubles for President Moon and Kim Jong-un. There were a couple of rehearsals in the past 2 days as well. The two Koreas held a joint rehearsal yesterday.
Right. Ho-jun, it was kept under wraps for a little while, but this morning they released a detailed schedule for the summit tomorrow.
That's right, and we finally have a set time for the historic meeting between the two leaders. According to Presidential Chief of Staff Im Jong-seok, heading the Summit Preparatory Committee, announced this morning that the leaders will first meet at 9:30 a.m. Korean Standard Time at the border village of Panmunjom. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un will cross the military demarcation line between the Military Armistice Commission T2 and T3 buildings, becoming the first North Korean leader to step onto South Korean soil in over 60 years. He will be greeted by South Korean President Moon Jae-in, and the two will then walk together towards the Peace House and receive a guard of honor as part of the official welcoming ceremony. Now, when they enter the building, Kim Jong-un will sign the guest book on the first floor. And starting at 10:30 a.m., the summit meeting between Moon Jae-in and Kim Jong-un will take place on the second floor of the Peace House. The leaders will have lunch separately. And in the afternoon, the two leaders will plant a ceremonial pine tree on the military demarcation line in recognition of their historic meeting, also laying a keystone that reads, quote, "Here we plant peace and prosperity." After taking a short walk together to the MDL signpost, engaging in some friendly conversation, they will then sign and announce a statement of agreement, but the format and the location of the signing haven't yet been determined. Starting at 6:30 p.m., a welcoming dinner in honor of the North Korean leader will take place, and the historic day will end with a farewell party. The spokesperson and Im also noted the top agenda items at the summit are the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula and the establishment of permanent peace. However, he stressed, Im Jong-seok that is, he stressed that it's hard to know for sure how much of an agreement President Moon and Kim Jong-un can reach and how such an agreement can be stipulated.
Well, without a doubt, an eventful day, culminating perhaps in the statement of agreement in the evening. But Ho-jun, do we know anything about who will be participating besides President Moon and Kim Jong-un?
Indeed. So we do know by far that 7 Blue House and government officials from South Korea and a total of 9 officials from North Korea will be accompanying their respective leader. And for a more thorough explanation on who will be attending, my esteemed colleague and Arirang's Unification Ministry correspondent Oh Jung-hee has this report. Take a look.
The pieces are now in place. South and North Korea have finalized the list of officials who will accompany their respective leaders to the April 27th summit. According to South Korea's presidential office of Cheongwade on Thursday, North Korea is sending 9 officials, most of whom have been at the center of this year's moves toward inter-Korean peace. They include North Korea's ceremonial leader Kim Yong-nam and Kim Jong-un's sister Kim Yo-jong, both of whom came to South Korea during the Pyeongchang Winter Olympics in February. Also on the list is Kim Yong-chol, who coordinated with the intelligence chiefs of South Korea and the U.S. in their preparatory meetings. The regime's Foreign Minister Lee Yong-ho and its Unification Committee Chairman Lee Sun-kwon, who headed North Korean delegation to high-level talks, will be coming as well. Pyongyang's top military officials, such as Army Chief Lee Myung-soo and Defense Minister Park Young-sik, are also to accompany Kim Jong-un. Seoul released its list of officials last week. They are Presidential Chief of Staff Im Jong-seok, National Security Advisor Chung Eui-yong, National Intelligence Service Chief Seo Hoon, and the Ministers of Unification, National Defense, and Foreign Affairs. Added to the list on Thursday was the Chairman of South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff, Chung Kyung-do. That's a total of 7 officials. The makeup of both delegations lean heavily towards security affairs.
The North Korean delegation includes some key military and foreign affairs figures, which at the beginning we didn't expect. We see that North Korea is considering not only the inter-Korean summit, but also the U.S.-North Korea summit and possible cooperation with the international community in the future.
Im sees the inclusion by North Korea of key military officials as a way to enable deep discussions about measures to achieve denuclearization on the Korean Peninsula and to lower military tensions. Oh Jung-hee, Arirang News.
Now, of course, we're all wondering whether Kim Jong-un's wife, Ri Sol-ju, will accompany the North Korean leader. According to Im Jong-seok, the presidential chief of staff, an agreement on that has not been reached yet, but the Blue House is anticipating that she will attend the welcoming dinner. All will be revealed in less than 24 hours, and that's all I have from now from the 2018 Inter-Korean Summit Press Center. Back to you, Devin.
All right, thank you for that, our Hwang Ho-jun, with some very thorough reporting there from Goyang. Now, with Kim Jong-un to become the first North Korean leader to cross the border into South Korea tomorrow, Seoul has said that Mr. Kim will be met there with a guard of honor from the South Korean Armed Forces. Our Park Ji-won tells us more.
South Korea's Defense Ministry announced Wednesday evening that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un will be presented with a guard of honor from the 3 branches of South Korea's military when he crosses the border to the South Korean side of Panmunjom. The confined space at Panmunjom means that a full 300-member Guard of Honor is impossible, so the size of the Guard of Honor will be reduced to about 150 members. The Defense Ministry says that forming the Guard of Honor means to show the South Korean government's support for regaining mutual support and reconciliation between the 2 Koreas, promoting peace on the Korean Peninsula, and also hoping for the success of the 3rd Inter-Korean Summit. When former South Korean presidents Kim Dae-jung and Roh Moo-hyun each arrived in Pyongyang for the previous Inter-Korean Summit talks in 2000 and 2007 respectively, North Korean soldiers formed a Guard of Honor and saluted the former presidents. Meanwhile, as the summit approaches, South Korea and the U.S. have decided to wrap up the first part of their two-part computer-simulated joint military drill, key result by Thursday. The remaining second of the exercise will begin from Monday. The Defense Ministry said the military will give its utmost support to ensure a stable inter-Korean summit on Friday. Full Eagle, another annual joint military drill between South Korea and the U.S., which kicked off on the first day of this month, will also be completed by Thursday. A military official told Arirang News Thursday afternoon that although the Full Eagle exercise is formally slated to continue for the whole month of April, specific operations of the exercise will actually all be completed by Thursday. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
And as we saw, thousands of people from the local and foreign press are getting ready for tomorrow's big event. That includes, of course, reporters from the station you're now watching. They're going to be getting as close as they can to where the leaders will be meeting near the inter-Korean border. And at the main press center, they're setting up temporary studios for their live coverage. Our Park Hee-jun takes us to the key media sites.
Just a couple of kilometers from Panmunjom, the Torasan checkpoint is bustling with activity in preparation for the Inter-Korean Summit. Also referred to as Customs, Immigration and Quarantine Office of South Korea, the Torasan checkpoint in Paju, Gyeonggi-do Province is just south of the demilitarized zone separating the two Koreas. It's the office that manages the arrivals and departures for people crossing the inter-Korean border and is where North Korean VIPs and athletes pass through in order to attend the Pyeongchang Winter Olympics. And it's also very close to the site where South Korean President Moon Jae-in and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un will meet on Friday. Many major media outlets are here finishing up their final touches for the big day. It's been a hectic scene here at the Torasan checkpoint for several days now, as journalists, officials, and a sheer number of staff members are busy getting ready for the moment the leaders of the two Koreas meet for the long-anticipated summit. And on the eve of such milestone events, Arirang TV stands ready to bring a live broadcast by the minute to the entire world. The main press center, located at the Kintex Exhibition Hall in Goyang, northwest of Seoul, is also busy with last-minute preparations. More than 2,800 media personnel from both the local and foreign press have registered to cover the Inter-Korean Summit. And come Friday, all eyes will be on how the historic Inter-Korean Summit unfolds at Panmunjom. Reporting from Torasan Checkpoint, Park Hee-jun, Arirang News.
And at the summit's main press center, it's clear that inter-Korean peace is of interest not just to neighboring countries, but to the whole world. Our Lee Ji-won is there and spoke with some of the reporters and editors.
With the world spotlight this week on Friday's Inter-Korean Summit, hundreds of reporters and media crews from around the globe have gathered at the Summit Press Center in Goyang, northwest of Seoul.
Compared to the two previous inter-Korean summits, where just over 1,000 reporters registered, the third historic meeting has over 2,800 press members signed up from 360 media companies in 41 countries. From live connections every hour to stories, speculation, and analysis on the summit, reporters are busy delivering the latest on the meeting.
Our newspaper for today filled one whole side with stories on this summit. 6 articles were posted, including stories on the route to be taken by the two leaders, what to expect from the summit, and even stories on this press center.
Though reporters each have different points of view, many say the key issue to watch out for during Friday's summit is denuclearization.
You know, were this happening at any other time and were Kim Jong-un not about to meet Donald Trump, I think the two Koreas could maybe focus on things that have maybe some more short-term relevance. But now I think what Moon really needs to do, top of his agenda, needs to be getting Kim Jong-un on paper, committing to denuclearization and committing to talks on denuclearization.
And it seems North Korea's increased nuclear threat and the high tensions on the peninsula last year grabbed more global media attention for this summit.
I think, at least at the last summit, North Korea was certainly not as big of an international story as it is now. It hadn't demonstrated the ability to hit the United States with long-range missiles. Now it has done all those things.
Many have also pointed out that improving inter-Korean ties is also an important issue.
Certainly the peace and the denuclearization. whoever have relations or family relations with North Korea or vice versa, they can meet each other, they can come each other. Whatever the demilitarized zone, which is considered as the most sensitive borders in the world, soldiers should move back and people should come forward to meet each other.
And with so much at stake, the world will soon find out whether the solutions to these issues can be agreed upon during the summit on Friday. 이지원, Arirang News.
And at the end of May or in early June, according to President Trump, he too will be meeting with Kim Jong-un. In pursuing that meeting, the Trump administration has taken a very unconventional approach, and no one knows quite what to expect. Experts agree, though, that the success of the Inter-Korean summit tomorrow will have a great deal of influence on it. Our Kwon Chang-ho has this report.
When South Korea's national security advisor visited the White House in early March, few anticipated what would happen next.
He expressed his eagerness to meet President Trump as soon as possible. President Trump appreciated the briefing and said he would meet Kim Jong-un by May.
When Donald Trump suddenly accepted Kim Jong-un's invitation to meet, Washington was caught off guard. Although there's been some time to digest this move, opinions and hopes for the US-North Korea summit remain mixed. Trump's seemingly unilateral decision to hold talks as soon as possible has turned the traditional order of diplomacy upside down. The extensive negotiations that normally take place before the leaders meet has been cut short.
There is very little that I think those of us who have been in the world of diplomacy would call normal about the upcoming meeting. I find it hard to believe they can go very far down the road. They can, in substance, there may be general agreement, but general agreement in the past between the DPRK and USA hasn't been such a terrific idea. Without the details laid on and the verification and the monitoring laid on with those details.
However, there are some who argue that it could prove to be the spark that moves things forward.
It is the opposite pattern of the way that diplomatic negotiations are normally conducted. However, there is a tradition, especially in Asia, of sort of the big men getting together, having a cup of tea, sort of sorting things out and leaving the details to their subordinates. That's what I see from these two individuals.
Everyone and their cousin would say do it the other way around. Have all the diplomats first, and the summit is the cherry on the top. You know, the summit between the two leaders comes last. On the other hand, we've been doing it that way for 65 years, and nothing has changed on the peninsula.
For a successful meeting, experts agree that South Korea has a crucial role to play in its own summit with the North.
One hopes that the South Koreans are able to make some progress in setting the stage for a U.S. DPRK discussion on denuclearization. And it would be great if there was a direct reference to denuclearization, you know, as part of what President Moon and Kim Jong-un are able to agree upon.
The inter-Korean process is and needs to be central if we're going to get someplace. One of the things that I actually find most significant and hopefully encouraging about what's going on now is that the Republic of Korea has played such an important role as a catalyst and as a shaper.
With so many uncertainties, expectations for the US-North Korea summit remain modest. But considering the tensions last year, North Korea watchers for now are breathing a sigh of relief and hoping it can pave the way for progress in the future.
We don't want to be too optimistic here. It's not like tomorrow North Korea is going to denuclearize and open up to trade and we'll have peace on the peninsula, right? That's not going to happen. So don't set it up as that it's a goal. But can we move the needle in the direction of less conflict? Absolutely.
At the very least, we want to move further away from the initiation of hostilities. If we can get through these two summits, we can get an improvement in the atmosphere and start a process, we would be doing very well.
Kwon Chang-ho, Arirang News, Washington, D.C.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un went personally Wednesday night to see off a special train carrying the bodies of the Chinese victims of a recent bus crash in North Korea. Reports say Kim went to the railway station and boarded the train to offer his condolences. On Monday, he visited the Chinese embassy in Pyongyang and the hospital where the injured were being treated. The accident happened on Sunday night. A bus carrying Chinese tourists overturned, leaving 32 dead and 2 injured. Observers say Kim's actions reflect North Korea's determination to keep relations with China firm, especially ahead of his summits with South Korea and the U.S. South Korea's central bank has released its data on the nation's first quarter GDP growth, and figures show that the economy rebounded after contracting in the fourth quarter of last year. Here's our Kim Hye-sung with the details.
South Korea's economy rallied last quarter, boosted by strong exports, investment, and government spending. According to the Bank of Korea Thursday, the country's GDP for the January to March period rose by 1.1% on quarter, marking a rebound after contracting 0.2% in the fourth quarter. On a yearly basis, GDP expanded 2.8% in the first quarter, on par with a 2.8% rise in the fourth quarter. Strong exports led by memory chips and chemical products helped boost economic growth, gaining 4.4% in the first 3 months of this year from the previous quarter. Both infrastructure and construction investment went up on quarter. Government spending increased 2.5%, posting the fastest quarterly gain in 6 years thanks to higher healthcare spending. But private consumption, which accounts for about half of the nation's GDP, gained a mere 0.6%, marking its slowest growth in a year. On the production side, manufacturing rose nearly 2%, construction expanded by more than 3%, but services fell short of 1% from a quarter earlier due to declines in food and lodging output. The central bank said if the economy continues to grow at this pace, GDP growth is expected to hit its 3% target for 2018. Kim Hye-sung, Arirang News.
In other news, international donors have pledged just under $4.5 billion in humanitarian aid for Syrians affected by the country's civil war. But that amount falls far short of what the United Nations was seeking. Our Noah Ram has more.
The $4.4 billion pledged is not exactly the $8 billion the head of the UN aid agency was looking for. Mark Lowcock made his plea at a donor conference in Brussels, which was attended by officials from both the UN and the EU. He had warned that certain aid programs would have to be cut back if funds weren't forthcoming. Despite falling well short of the amount hoped for, Lowcock said it was a good start and thanked the donors.
I want particularly to thank the EU, Germany and the United Kingdom, who've made exceptionally large pledges today. I want also to note that beyond 2018, we've had or are expecting during the course of the day pledges amounting to some $3.3 billion for 2019 and onwards.
He also noted that a few other large players, including the United States, have not yet confirmed their financing for this year due to internal budgetary discussions. He said the US has been providing more than $1 billion a year in humanitarian assistance to Syria and the region over recent years. However, it remains to be seen if that will continue under the Trump administration, as there is still some confusion over Washington's position in Syria. The UN aid agency is in desperate need to raise funds for the dire situation in the Middle Eastern nation, but has only managed to collect half of the money needed over the past couple of years. According to the UN, more than 6 million people are now internally displaced in Syria, more than 5 million have fled the country, and 13 million, including 6 million children, are in need of aid. Meanwhile, the conference was also a platform for EU officials to urge for UN-led peace talks in Geneva to restart. The previous 8 rounds of talks aimed at ending the Syrian war have gained little steam. EU diplomatic chief Federica Mogherini once again urged Russia and Iran to pressure their ally Damascus to engage in the negotiations. Noah Ram, Arirang News.
Hello, Michelle Parker with the latest weather update. The perfect spring weather continued from yesterday, but ultrafine dust levels are fluctuating in some regions, including here in Seoul. Now, tomorrow will be similar with a good amount of sunshine across Korea and also in Beijing and Tokyo. Now, tomorrow at Panmunjom, where the long-awaited inter-Korean talks are going to be held, we'll have a chilly start to the day at 5 degrees Celsius, but the temperature will rise up to 23 degrees by the afternoon. Now, meanwhile, Seoul will begin tomorrow at 9 degrees Celsius, Daegu at 12, Gyeongju at 11 degrees. Now, the daily highs over in Seoul will hit up to 22 degrees, while Gwangju and Busan reaching up to 22 and 21 degrees. Now, for the meantime, the nice, comfortable weather is expected to continue with rather hot afternoons, but also chilly mornings and nights. I'll leave you with the weather conditions around the world.
And that's all from me for this hour. Thank you for watching. Do stay tuned, though, because we have plenty more coming up tonight on the eve of the Inter-Korean Summit, and Arirang TV will be your best source of up-to-the-minute coverage on the day of the summit as well. Bye for now.